All right.
What's up, people? I'm here. Just looking at the Facebook group was selected to be in the Father's Day campaign, which is cool. Saying, did you get the paperwork? Yeah, it's already done, lady. I already got that done. So yeah, I made a post in the main Facebook group that we had we'd been selected to share some photos of you and your dad, or you and your children. And so our group was picked. And so they'll pick some pictures from that thread, and then who knows, we'll be on TV. And I think this is probably another digital ad campaign, but you'll see it pushed out on YouTube and stuff like that. So not YouTube, but Facebook. Should be pretty cool.
Yeah, there were a lot of new members last time after that.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that last year. 7,000,
8,000, 9,000, something like that. So we'll have to go back to making sure we vet everybody again, because there'll be a bunch of normies in there and they don't belong, causing disruption. So anyway, that's what's going on. What else we got going this week?
All right, so we got some good questions here from folks. A bunch of people asking about these things.
Oh, yeah.
So for those who missed the video, kind of tell them what the deal was. That was Wednesday.
Yeah, I just posted on Instagram that we were testing out doing a foam cannonless foaming solution. And I want it mainly for these big dedicated wash bays that we're building. I would like it for, next door, if we build a dedicated wash bay, or like I was planning to build a dedicated wash bay at my last house that we sold. And so the concept would be to have a separate boom pole, separate hose that feeds from a soap tank. And then you could just swap from decon soap to GSF. And what works even better, just depending on how you want to set up, the metering system that goes. So think about this as a metering system that goes into the soap tank, and then goes on the outlet of the pressure washer, and it's a Venturi type siphoning system, just like all the Krenzlas and all the cheapy pressure washers. They all have a soap tube, right, or a chemical tube. And the way to get that chemical tube to work is you take the orifice and you open it up, so you decrease pressure. And when the pressure's decreased, it creates a Venturi effect and sucks the soap up. And then, there's water flowing as well as soap coming in, and then it dilutes the soap. And then, if you have the right type of tip on the end, in this case, it can foam it. So these are foaming-specific tubes, or foaming-specific tips, so you can eliminate the foam cannon. So in a perfect world, you would have a separate hose reel or separate hose and a valve system, or a solenoid type system like a car wash would have, and you have one. You have multiple hoses. So because every time you switch from low pressure soap to high pressure regular washing, you got to kind of clear out the line a little bit. So the way it works is I take and I'm spraying down the car with my high pressure tip, or a little small baby tip, and then I open up the orifice to one of these with the sort of foaming capability, the way that this fans out the soap, and so then when you open that up, then the Venturi effect takes and it sucks the soap into the line, and so these you have to get the little metering thing, which is, what did he say, it was like $200 or $300 or something like that. So it's not really that expensive. So I didn't realize that I thought you'd have to have a dedicated line only. This can work by just simply switching tips. So it is possible that we could create a system. The key to helping people save the pain is to choose the right orifice. These are different orifice sizes. Choose the right orifice size. Choose the right type of nozzle, and then choose the right dilution. Because when we were first doing it to get it to work, we're literally like sucking a gallon of what is it?
GSF.
Yeah, what is it? A gallon? It's like I guess not a whole gallon, but like
$100 or so.
Yeah, solid. We shot a solid $25 of soap in one car application. So we'd have to figure out, what do you dilute it to? What works best? And so it's going to be a solution. But I think in most cases, it's going to be most practical if you're building, a garage from scratch, and we can put in 2 boom poles, one dedicated for soap and one dedicated for, for rinsing. That would be the perfect situation. But the metering, the Venturi meter thingy, would allow us to. It's a little bit clunkier. Would allow you to pull from a soap tank if you wanted to. It's probably going to be a bit more costly because it will use a little bit more soap, even if we do find the right dilution ratio. And it's a little bit time consuming because you have to let the line clear out, which I think most people will be less patient. You just use the frickin' foam cannon. So what I'm not interested in, like MTM has that Meso thing with the stupid dual outlet that makes 0 sense. This doesn't do us any good if it requires more work, when the foam cannon is not a bad solution to begin with. This again would be for dedicated type setups, I think is how it's going to be. So it's not going to be a huge seller, but it's something that is certainly interesting. It's a lot more ergonomic than having a big old bucket on a big old thing on the end of your gun.
All right, so there you go. A lot of people were asking about that. That's a Mosmatic product. Jamie.
Yeah, so for a couple $100. I mean, this has always existed. It's just that, it exists in a dedicated, car washing sense where you have a solenoid and you have a solenoid actuated, air-driven valve system where where you do the quarter thing and you turn the knob and it changes the type of if soap is coming out or not. And these are really popular in Europe and professional car wash applications. I've always known they existed. I just didn't know how to make it work. And it does so by having the meter that you put on the outlet of the pressure washer. That we'll show you more of it once we figure out what works best.
All right, we have lots of people happy that we're back. We didn't do this for 2 weeks in a row now.
Yeah.
You were out of town last weekend, and then the weekend or Friday before you were doing the Tesla window tint. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, happy to be back. Lots of questions about that trip last weekend. We'll get to. Let's see here. Here we go. One other question from Bryce Holland in the comments. Hey, Matt, just want to get your opinion on Shine Supply. I've been using mostly all of his stuff and love it. So this is a Shine Supply product.
Shine Supply is, I'm fairly certain, a B&B blended product that is, I think Jeremy Stevens, the owner of Shine Supply, he has a really great relationship with a chemist there. And so Jeremy has a great shop in Southern California. And so he, decided to go out and, went. I guess he met the chemist somewhere, like at SEMA or something like that. I don't know the whole backstory, but this is, I forget how many years he's been doing this now, 3-4 a year, something like that. And he started Shine Supply. It's just Jeremy talks like a surfer. He looks like you'd expect a Southern California dude to look. He's freaking cooler than all of us. And he's super authentic. So what he does resonates, especially with professional detailers. And he has a business that a lot of people would aspire to have. He has a mid to high end, paint correction and detailing, shop type business. I think he now has a shop in Arizona as well. And so he has one in California, one in Arizona, and this line of products, that he did what you need to do, which is, very similar to, Larry Cosella did likely the same thing, where you work with a blender, and then you start out by choosing color and scent and tell him what you want the product to do, and then you keep tweaking, and sometimes you hit on something. And he has a lot of good products. He has some good polishes. I haven't used all of the stuff. It's on his product line is on my list of something that I'd like to tear into and test out. It's been a number of years since I've had an interest to do something like that. But Wise Guy is one of those products that I use that we need, that we've been struggling with in prep, especially if you're prepping tires that aren't brand new. Like, let's say you bought a used car, or you bought a car that had some miles on it, and you wanted to get the wheels set up. And so this is like a super concentrate. I don't think you want to use this straight up.
No, you dilute it 1-to-1 with water.
Yeah, so you're going to dilute this. you could, if you had something really gnarly. But this is probably his third or fourth iteration of this product, and it's a great tire prep thing that we're adding to our wheel and tire prep package, and our wheel cleaning package, because one of the problems with stoners, I still use stoners, I still want stoners, but it's not very shippable to most places because it's an aerosol. So that's going to come out of the package, and this will replace it in the package. I still like stoners because if I have new wheels and tires, I don't need this. But most people aren't doing new wheels and tire prep; they're doing old wheel and tire prep for coating, and so that's what this would be. But Jeremy was kind enough to let us choose. We just wanted one product right now. There may be one or two others in the line that we might be interested in, but we'll make a video on this here soon. Actually, the Tesla would be a good candidate because I do need to coat those stock wheels because they're going to be on there for a little while. And so we'll show how this works, and then you could just use this as your regular tire cleaner. It is now called a tire and wheel cleaner, so I'd like to test it out as a wheel cleaner, but it's from what I can tell, just an alkaline type product, but it helps with blooming and stuff like that. But that's the story. So Shine Supply in general is a good bet. I don't think any one product line, this is part of the reason why I don't intend to make an Obsessed Garage product line, is the odds of you being able to hit on every single product it's just not possible. It would take me, a decade just to make one product great. And so that's the MO I have, is why would I do that when it would take me a decade just to find one decent product, and by the time you find it, someone else probably already made something better. So I like to be agnostic. I like to be able to worship whatever product works best rather than choose to be stuck with one thing or another. So that's the story there.
All right, a couple other quick product questions for you. Ken Jeeper says, you mentioned switching to McKee's N914 in a podcast.
Yeah.
What's your experience with that?
Yeah, I have zero experience, but everybody's talked me into it here. We're making a bit of a transition here in that now I have a committee of obsessed people that can help me, help add leverage to the ability to improve the process. And so we're making that transition to McKee's based on everybody's recommendation that it's better. I don't do a lot of waterless washing and rinseless washing, so it's a product that I like having in my cabinet, but it's not a product I'm an expert in. And so I'm pulling from other experts, and the general consensus is that it's better. And that's one of those things. It's one of the few things in the store that's like something I want to have in my cabinet, but I'm not like hyper interested in it. And so I'm leveraging the guys like Kyle and Bryce, and those guys do a lot more rinseless washing than I do. And they're adamant. And so I'm trusting them on that decision. And I'm going to have to do more and more of that as time goes on. There are some things that are the foaming gun and things like that this is all me, and I don't care what anybody says. But yeah, I think we're going to make that transition. I'll do some use of it in the videos and stuff like that. And again, that's not a product I really care all that much about. Like O&R is something I like having. I used it yesterday just to clean up the bumper when I was removing the adhesive, but I'm not frickin' doing O&R washes. I'm just not doing it. But I know that it's something that's important that the guy that's buying our car washing package might want or might need.
All right, Brian Chu here in the chat has a question. He says, how can you get rid of paint overspray on PPF? Can you use the clay/auto scrub or machine polish?
Yeah, I mean, overspray comes off generally best with clay, and you can clay a PPF. You just got to be careful with the edges because you don't want to get clay up under it and pull the edge. So yeah, just use lots of lubrication and a clay bar. That Coach Chemi clay bar we have in the store is freaking awesome. That should work pretty well with it. And just knead it often because you're having to flip it over because you're pulling that overspray off. And then you probably want to do a quick little finish polish. I'd probably use Perfect Finish, or maybe get, depending on the PPF, maybe get like some PPF specific polish. Like I think CarPro has some. I know that Geon has a paint protection film specific polish. You just want something mild that you can just go and just clean up. You may be able to just heat gun it or just take it out in the sun. If it's a modern PPF, it'll self-heal the marring that you'll get from the clay bar.
We have a couple super chat questions here. First one, $2 Canadian from Jonathan. I own a 435i. Should I upgrade to an F80 or 997-911?
Oh, yeah. That's the car that I never really understood, the just sub M3 market that's usually not a whole lot less. It's a tricky car because, like a 435 is probably something like 50, mid-50s, and an M3 is low 60s. And so it was one of those things that was always a tricky car that maybe you got it used on a deal or something like that where it made sense to get it. But yeah, I mean, I think anytime you have the opportunity to make that next progressive step, an M3 is just a much better car, all around. Even though it's based on the same chassis, usually you have a lot of M-specific parts, like aluminum trailing arms and control arms, and obviously the engine's going to be different. In the past, the M engines used to be different; they weren't built on the same platform as they would have an S version of the N series engines that was bespoke and built from scratch. It's not so much the case anymore, but usually I have something like forged internals and things like that. But yeah, I mean, if you like the 435, then you'll probably like the F80. I don't like the F80. The F80 has gotten a lot better. The platform now, you can get the equal length exhaust from Active, which makes it not farty and weird sounding and sound like a diesel truck. So that's a positive thing. I always say an F80 is one of those things. If you have it in your if you have it in your desire list, you got to get it. It'll be a car you'll have for a few years, and then you'll move on to something else. That's just my take on it. But I think I would progress to an M3 and then a 911 later.
Is that what our buddy Chad has, a 435i?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what I thought.
Super tunable. It has the N series motor. Super problematic. But I think it is N55. But it's one of those kind of in between cars that's tricky. But Chad got it used, and it was much less than an M3, and that's kind of when you do the 4 series. But somebody had to buy it new and kind of got smoked on it. That's the tricky part. Or an M3 isn't going to depreciate nearly as much. So it's one of those things you're almost always better off skipping the 4 series and going to direct to the M3.
All right, our next super chat here from Ken Jeeper, $9.99 US. So when is Maddie buying a Model S Plaid? Did you watch the reveal?
I ordered it last night. So. Yeah, I'm just going to trade the Model 3 for the Model S, which would be a little more practical family car. Since my experiment to the Model 3 didn't work out, and it's not a good-looking car, I ordered the Plaid. And since the Plaid Plus isn't coming out, I almost ordered the Model S, a few months ago. I should have, because it would save me $10,000, because you would have locked in the price. But I ordered one in white with full self-drive with black carbon interior, and then we'll just hope it doesn't have a myriad of problems being a launch car. But I should have one in August, September, October. So with in Tesla, probably like November, December is probably when I'll have it. It's such an enjoyable process to buy one. You put $100 up. You fill everything out. I already started filling out the loan paperwork. I'm just going to finance it. It's like 2.49% for 72 months. It's pretty awesome. And then I'm going to trade the Model 3 rather than sell it because the tax difference. We'll see what the trade-in value is. It has 3,100 miles on it. I was intending to do this from the beginning. I thought that the Model S would take a little longer for it to come out, but I wanted to make sure I wanted one. The Model Y, the Model X, I think are stupid. So the Model S looks pretty freaking sick. So yeah, I'm going to get one.
Some of our California friends are chiming in the chat here. They're going through a big drought this year, huge drought, which may increase their waterless wash needs. So,
yeah, that's a good point. So
folks.
we'll invest some time in some videos and stuff like that, and talk about the differences, and do some back-to-back testing, and we'll find out if I'm eating that couple of pallets of McKees that I bought, and we'll go from there.
All right, Nick wants to know, hey, Matt, how is the slipstream working out for you? Better than Beanmaker? And when can we expect it in the store?
Yeah, I think we've ordered it. I think we're looking at, August, September, something like that.
Probably so.
Yeah, it's really good. I've washed 6 or 8 cars with it now. Been using it as a detail spray, when I need to just clean something up. It's as multi-purpose as Beadmaker is, it's even more multi-purpose and less byproducts or less potential problems. So it's good. It's coming, and we'll have it until we find something better.
Let's see. Michelle M. from Lady Lake is in the chat here.
Oh, boy.
I guess she didn't realize you ordered a car last night.
It's her car, technically, right?
So there you go. Happy Father's Day, Michelle. And she says, we'll go to her. She has a question or a statement here. Ask Maddie about the bed and breakfast experience. What's the bed and breakfast?
Oh, Lord.
So this is last weekend.
Yeah. You want to tell the whole story? Then we might as well. It's a podcast.
Yeah. You can do what you want. It's your podcast.
So, for those of you who don't know, if you haven't watched the videos or haven't been keeping up, and you only listen to the podcast, which I would find rather odd, but whatever. I want to buy so part of the advantage of buying a smaller, more practical house here is that project is attainable. That house will largely be done in the next 6 months, right? I'll have that house done, equipped, set up, and operational and working really well, which then, and while doing that in parallel, we'll be doing the yarn building, right, which will probably take 8 months to get set up, to be functioning. And then, we're always pursuing, so we'll always be changing things. But I've realized that I'm a sucker for a project. Projects are my thing. I also realized that it's probably, the grown-up thing to do is to, invest capital and make a solid return on things. But I don't have an interest in that. Even when I was in wealth management, my interest was fixing people's messes. Taking the proverbial cabinet filled with junk, throwing out most of the junk, and organizing it to the point to where all you have to do is go and open the cabinet, look at it, and reorganize it periodically, and create a path to add things to the cabinet. So my passion is a project. Take things and fix it and make it better. But I don't like to restore things. I don't like to take things that are a total disaster. When I was at Merrill Lynch, I didn't take people who didn't have any money and were in debt and a total disaster. I was taking something that was already good and making it better, just like cars. The E36 was the absolute best E36 we could find, and then we're going to make it better, right? So take it to that, chase. I don't think you can ever get to perfection, but chase perfectionism, if you will. And so that's my value prop to the world. That's what I'm good at. That's what I'm suited to do. I'm not suited to take something crappy and make it slightly less crappy. That's a thing, but that's not my thing. My thing is to take something great and make it amazing. And so part of my plan has always been I want to build a community in the mountains from scratch. But I'm not so much a from-scratch kind of guy. It's not really my passion. My passion is to take something that already exists and make it better. So something dawned on me. I'm like, man, we bought this basic house here. I don't have any debt or leverage against anything other than one car or so. And those cars are assets that make a lot of money. I think it's a good time in my life to chase a mountain home or a beach house or something like that. And in order to make it so that I really enjoy it, I like to share this stuff with others. And I think that this is a way for me to pursue real estate investment with my value prop, my ability to take something nice and make it really nice, and my luck that things that I like, other people like too. Just so happens that most people aren't interested in doing what needs to be done in order to get it to great. And so, voila, we have a business, right? I can buy a house, and instead of building a community that's, that's not a pipe dream, but that's a huge risk. Instead, why don't I just buy a house and do this with it, and then let people borrow it for money, and then if that books up and I don't have any room to go there because everybody wants to use it, then I'll do another one, and I'll do another one, and I'll keep a week or two a year to make sure I go to each house so that I can figure out what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be better, but made better. And, who wouldn't want to go and stay in a really dialed-in house if you're going to go and stay somewhere? Not to mention, I'm going to show you all the cool things to do in the area. And so, again, we have a business. And I have an itch that I need to scratch. And I want a house in the mountains. And so I could just go up there and buy a $500,000 house in the mountains and have it be mine and just, and make sure, have no one touch it, no one use it. Or I can figure out and create a subset of rules and a subset of requirements for what I require of you if you're going to borrow my house from me. And I rail against all the traditional ways of doing things. For instance, everybody in the mountains has decided that you have to build the house with only materials that are available in the mountains. Well, why don't we build our house with sand in Florida? Sand and Spanish moss, right? Why do we build our houses with block and Icynene and shingles and tar shingles and things like that and clay tile roofs? Why do we do that? Is clay tile something that's that was really popular in the 2000s? No, you build the house to what you want the house to be wherever it is. And so I'm going to go up there and I'm going to have a house that's completely opposite of what everybody else has, because everybody else has the same stupid thing that I hate. And so I have a very unique desire for it shouldn't be unique, it should be the norm, but apparently it's not. So I want to do the opposite of what everybody else does. And it's almost too easy, right? So I'm going to buy a house, and I'm going to go up there. I'm going to put all the cool stuff in the garage, and whatever the garage is, even if it's a one-car garage. The one thing there is that getting a giant garage is generally not in the cards because everything is on the side of a freaking mountain. I'm sure there's some that exist, but again, I'm not interested in building a house from scratch. I don't have the capacity time-wise to do that and not neglect everything in life. And so maybe someday I will, but I have the capacity to take something that's great, change the paint color, put better lighting in, put all the cool stuff in the garage. But I need the garage to be there. And in a perfect world, it would have a 7-car garage, but that's just not in the card. It's not practical. And any house that would have that doesn't have the other factor that's important, is that I need to get Michelle and the kids there. And the same factor holds true with everybody else who would come and borrow my house for money. We need the house first, and the garage would be cool, to have. And so all these car guys, So I remember sitting at the bench. We went and looked at the same spot where I was sitting, and all of my GT3 buddies. And I brought up the thing and said, why are we all staying at this crappy hotel? Why don't we just build a freaking community? And then 3.5 minutes in the conversation, go-kart track became part of the conversation. Oh, yeah, we need to have... No. You just want a bunch of nice houses with a nice garage where you can park a car, and it turned into we need a go-kart track. That's what dudes do. We need stripes on the walls, we need Coors Light neon signs, and we need go-kart tracks. That's a stupid... No. What you need is a house that you want to be in. You need a couch that you want to sit on when you're not driving or going whitewater rafting. And you need to be in the culture. You need to be in a place where there's nice restaurants, but then the roads happen to be great around there. So the coincidence of having a nice garage and nice roads is important, but it's not the driving factor. The driving factor is you can take your family somewhere, get credit for that, right? And still have a lot of good that comes with it. If I go and buy some crappy house with amazing garage, and your wife's not coming. And to be honest with you, I need her there because she's going to probably take better care of it than most of the dudes that are going to come and do this. Maybe not so much the OG types, but the concept here is I'm looking for the first house, and we're going to try it out. It's got to be a house that I want, a house that Michelle wants, in a place that we want to be, and with a decent enough garage that I can transform and make cool. And it's got to have a freaking great couch and a great TV where I can lay there in the mountains and watch Sports Center, and watch Heartland, thinking about the next place in Banff where I'm going to build a place. So think of so it's going to be called Destination OG. And so we looked at 10 or 11 houses, and did it, vlog style with that freaking crappy Sony camera. I got to figure something else out. I'm not carrying a GoPro around. The GoPro's looks terrible, but at least it's not all shaky hand. And using a gimbal is such a pain in the rear, so I got to figure that out. But anyway, we got some footage, and better to have footage than no footage, the way I look at it. And we found some houses that we like, but the key is we were able to immerse ourselves in the different areas. And so we stayed at the Innsbruck in Ghetto Helen, right? Helen, Georgia, which there's a really cool house there, but was that house not eerily similar to my house here that we just sold? That is a lot of work, and everything in there is nice, but it's just not me. It's not Michelle. It's not really our style. And so we made it our style. We made it beautiful, but it was, Deerhead City, with freaking pine everywhere. And so we had a darn Carolina mountain house in Florida, for gosh sakes. So that house would require me to do the same thing, which would require a bunch of work, but it had an amazing 6-car garage. So rare up there. The biggest deterrent outside of the area was that the driveway, you can't really tell in the picture, but the driveway goes like this, and it goes straight down. So literally the GT3 would end up cantilevering on, stuck on the frame rails on that thing. Now, we could have chopped it up and cut it out and made it work. Unlike the last house. Did you watch the video of the last house, the restoration house we called it? I mean, I could put, a 2x4 down to hold me over for a few weeks until I got the driveway just kind of, that one little spot kind of ironed out. That's an easy fix versus regrading the entire concrete driveway, building a new retaining wall, and doing some crazy stuff. The house is in the middle of Helen. And so everything was, could we see ourselves in Helen? So we went out to lunch, and we went out to dinner, and went out to breakfast. And I ordered a $35 steak at Dave's Steakhouse or whatever, and I ate an eighth of it. It's just gross. It's just disgusting. And of course, Michelle ordered prime rib. I told her, you got to order prime rib. Prime rib is such a joke. Prime rib is the epitome of white trash fancy. And so we would have had one of the most expensive houses in that area, and it's like Harley Davidsonville, which is fine. I'm just not going to be there. It's just not for me. And so the question is, do we drive out of the back of the neighborhood and just pretend it's not there? And the cool thing is there's stuff to do there. You can go whitewater rafting on pink inner tubes, or not whitewater, inner tubing down the whatever, the Chattahoochee or whatever it is. You can go and, you can get a funnel cake from 7 or 8 in various places. You can, there are restaurants. But it's an alpine themed town of clearly an alpine town that doesn't exist because they cheese it up to the point of it's just not a good place. You go there once. And so what would happen is I'd have this cool house. It was kind of what I wanted before the garage. People would go there once and then be like, okay, that's enough of that. So it would be there solely for driving, like, because you'd go to Helen and you'd be like, I got to go to Dave's Steakhouse again and eat some vomit on a plate. Or you're going to go to some other, janky restaurant to some fake, German thing. And it's just not well executed, themed. It's, the people in the mountains, which I didn't make this up, the people in the mountains elsewhere call it the Walmart of the mountains, right? And so we stayed at the Innsbruck, and we knew, so I'd booked that. So Innsbruck is in this little hotel in the middle of this community that we're looking to buy, it's kind of nice. It's okay. But it's all the roads have that German name to it. It's just the cheese factor is very high. And I don't deal well with cheese factor. You see it. It's not well executed cheesy. It's cheap executed cheesy. And that reminds me of the place where all the vaping, VW guys go. They think it's freaking great. And then no one in the town wants them there because they're ruining the town, when they're there. It's like where all the Nissans go. It's not where the Porsche guys go. Porsche guys go to Braselton or Blairsville or, the Highlands. And so it's just a different mindset. It's where you go when you have, the Harley dudes. Not the dentist Harley guys, but the real Harley guys. So it's just not our scene. So we stayed at the Innsbruck, and then we're like, well, I booked it for 2 nights, and then we're like, well, we know we don't want to be here, so let's get the heck out of here, and let's go up to the Highlands a night early. And the problem with the Highlands right now is that there's a lot more demand than there is supply. And so there's like the inn, the inn on Park or something, the Park on Inn or something like that, or the Park, what is it, Park on Main or something like that. There's Old Edwards. There's several other nice little hotels right in the Highlands, but they're all booked for like 2 years. And so we kept calling, trying to get in. So the only place I could get in was a bed and breakfast. It's the only place I could find. And we know where this is going. So we go, I call the bed and breakfast, say, hey, can we come up? Do you have an extra night? Can we come up on Friday night and stay? Because we were planning on coming up and staying Saturday night instead. And so we're going to stay 2 nights in Helen and 1 night, because we really thought that, Helen was going to be the place. And both had only been there one time for a few minutes. And so we knew we didn't want to be there. So we wanted to get to the Highlands to spend a little more time there. And so we went to this bed and breakfast. Oh my gosh. There were some other people staying there that were came there specifically for that. It was 2 dudes who own the house who are antiquers. First of all, there are 4,000 mini tables everywhere, right? There's just tables, just random tables for table's sake, right? And then there's chairs with little seats everywhere, just chairs and seats, chairs and little footstools and desks, and everything has something on, not something, some hundreds of things on it. And everything's stinky. And Michelle is literally, she's not allergic to anything, but apparently she's allergic to antiques. This is what her grandmother's house was. And the one that had, I always talk about the picture that Robert E. Lee over the mantle. So picture that old Florida antiquer type. And so we're in the room, and there's little statues looking at us, little scary antique statues. And there's no rhyme or reason to any of it. It's dark. But there are 45 lamps in the room, and even when you light up every single lamp, it still doesn't give you any light. I can't see anything. And then it's a queen size bed, and I think I slept 1 minute. And so that first night, so first night we made it through, and then we went, and that's when we saw 3 houses in the Highlands. One really contemporary one that was pretty awesome, but it is too sterile even for me, too unusable even for me. Then there was the one that was up in Sapphire that was kind of cool, but it was all chopped up. It was way too much money for what it was. And then, of course, we found the restoration house. And so the Michelle goes, "We got to get out of here." I'm like, "There's nowhere to go. We're going to sleep in the car." And so she says, "Well, let me call this other place." It was like an old Hilton Garden Inn that was, everything in the Highlands is privately owned. There's no chains there. And so we go to like the Highlands Garden Inn Hotel or something, and I'm like, anything's better than this. At least it had the king size bed. So we're looking at these multi-million-dollar mansions, and we're staying in the Rat House antique zone, and we're having breakfast with people, and I on like the antique plates, and like I don't even want to drink out of this cup, because with antiques come antique dirt. And they're probably using an antique sponge to clean it in the sink, in the antique sink. And then there's these 3 other people having breakfast with us that are staying there too, and they're just raving about how amazing this was, and I'm like ready to vomit. You guys, Michelle, I actually did really, really well. Like I knew what I was getting into. I didn't know it was going to be that bad, but I knew I was getting into something I didn't want to be in. I wanted to stay at Old Edwards. Which is like the epitome of our style. That's what transitional style exists largely from Old Edwards and the Highlands, and that chunky wood, weathered but modern looking stuff. And we ended up staying in 1920s Antiquesville of a bunch of freaking garbage that is priceless. To like, apparently there's lots of people that are into that, but those people think the same thing with us. They're like, "Well, why are you washing cars?" Or like that, So I get it. I wasn't mad at them. I just had to get the heck out of there. And so we stayed at the other place the next night, and then came back home the following. So we stayed 3 nights up there, and we went to Helen. We went to Lake Burton, which is awesome. I was almost going to try to buy another house there because the restoration house isn't looking so good for us getting it. The house you saw in Hayesville, which is the one on the top of the hill with all those panoramic views, it's like a regular nice house. And we went and saw, Blairsville, which is out in Georgia. So I think for certain we want to be in North Carolina instead of Georgia. Georgia is like 6 times the property tax, which makes a big difference, and I didn't think it would. Lake Burton is in Georgia, unfortunately. But I could see us having, multiple properties. And so the concept here is Destination OG will become a site that's, it's a sister site to obsessedgarage.com. And that's where I'll be able to offer things like our Columbia pillows, and I'll have a whole line of products that like Panasonic Whisper Quiet fans, and obviously audio video stuff, and all the different things that the scent for the house, and it'll be a whole nother avenue for me to invest in real estate in a way that I am passionate about. I don't want to own freaking duplexes and commercial real estate. I have no interest in that. I have a lot of interest in taking on a project, making it great, and then having other people borrow it for money. We're not going to call it renting, because renting implies entitlement. And entitlement means you come and mess it up. That's not the way this works. Like, another thing that everybody kept asking is, how many does it sleep? Like, everybody has... Does the world not have any imagination? Like, why does everybody do things the same way? Well, you have to have a security deposit. No, I don't. How about, no, I'm not doing that. I'll just price it accordingly. Oh, you got to have 15% off sales every weekend. No, I'm not doing that. We're going to do it my way. You can't charge for shipping. Bull crap. That's what I'm asking. That's the value add that I'm asking for you to pay for. So with the house, actually, the house is going to be the opposite effect, because we're likely going to be able to let people borrow it for less than market value. and we all win because they're likely not going to jack it up, so I don't have to price that in. We don't have to play all these stupid games, security deposits and all that. If you break my freaking end table and you don't own up to it, you're just not allowed to come back. You know, I mean, I'll figure it out. I'll ask you to pay for it, but don't be a jerk, kind of thing. If you knock my TV off the wall, you know, I'd expect you to buy a new one. But, you know, if you don't, am I going to be, you know, out in life? I'm not going to be happy about it. But you know, I don't want to play all this nickel and dime bull crap. Like the sales tax we'll have built into the price. So, you know, last thing anybody like me wants is to get nickel and dime to death. That's stupid. Just tell me the price and tell me what it is and publish it in lights. Don't beat around the bush and just tell me what I owe, and then I can make a decision if I want to do it or not. And I just know it because I want it so badly. If I could have gone up there that week, kicking the family up, and I knew what I was getting into. Where do I eat? What do I do? Where do I hike? You know, we're asking the guys at the hotel. They don't frickin' know anything. I'm going to tell you, and there will be a video attached to it and a description. It says, here's where you go. Here's where you hike. Instead of we're like on this hike thing, or like we have the directions, like which way do we go? Where are we? Instead, I'm going to go and scope it out because I want to do that anyway. It'll be fun. You know, whitewater rafting, where do you go? Not, do you have a voucher or a discount, or can you book it for me? People don't need to be babysat. They just need a little bit of direction pointing, and then they'll solve it themselves. So just like the pressure washers and stuff like that, I'm going to get you 98% of the way there, and then you do the rest. So we're not going to have some. It's not some concierge where I'm at your beck and call. It's you can use my house. You're helping me pay for it, the wear and tear of it, and it's a way for me to buy some real estate and own that and enjoy the process. And in 20 years, it'll be a sound move. And we'll do that at as many houses as warrants, and we'll have Destination OG, which becomes a place where becomes a brand in and of its own. Each house will become a brand in and of its own, and who's going to frickin' stop me? Right. So that's the plan. So that's the story. It's a frickin' lot of fun looking at fancy houses, man. Fancy houses I have no business being in my this getup. Which made me even happier. We went in that Lake Burton house, the $4 million one with a T-shirt and hat. That lady got up and sat right back down. We showed up in the realtor's minivan. Oh, I love doing that. It makes me so happy to be underestimated in life. Man, that house is cool. But again, it was in Georgia. The freaking property tax on the house is like $60,000 to go to support nothing, to support waste. I'm not doing that. North Carolina is like, the same price house is like $7,000 tax. It's insane. Like 6 times. I'm not doing Maddie estimation here. It's real. It's nuts. Which, that could wipe out the entire profitability of the project, of the entire investment, entire idea. Because this idea I want to do with like 10 homes. And then imagine if I had 10 homes in, let's say, Highlands, Cashiers, Sapphire, Blake Burton, that sort of 1 hour vicinity. And then if I had lots of capital that was being generated, or lots of cash flow that was being generated, then I could build like a building like this somewhere that could become the hub of everything, where cars come in and out and stuff like that. And maybe we do set it up to where I eventually buy some GT4s or something at each, or Caymans at each property, that you could come and just rent that car from me. And then that would require us to have like full service where somebody lives up there and takes care of everything. We have somebody down here doing the booking and stuff like that. Other things I want to do, like I want it to be kind of like I love like Netflix, Hulu, Showtime, these subscriptions where I don't have to call and get like encyclopedia salesman sold on why I need to stay with it. I just want to get in and out whenever I want. And so we'll have something like a 2-month cutoff, but you can get in and change your dates, whatever you want. You don't need to call. Just go online and unbook it and rebook it. And just have it 2 months out or something like that. And we're going to make it so that you have to upload a video of what your house looks like. So you better frickin' clean it up because you'll get denied. And people are like, you can't do that. Why not? It's my freaking house. Do whatever I want. And I bet you most people want me to do that want to rent my house from me, right? And so that's what the vision is. It's going to be a freaking blast. people are like, I don't understand. Like, I thought this was supposed to be a car guy house. No, it was never supposed to be a car guy house. It's supposed to be my house. My house happens to be a car guy house, not a freaking frat boy house where you get 17 people together so you can swing the cost. No, this is for people who can swing it, who want to go and stay in a place like that. And it's not for everybody. And if you're not there yet, you should aspire to get there. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not interested in, doing Section 8 housing just so that people can go and have parties. That's not what I want. I want people that don't want that either. I want people to come and have a great place, a great option for them to stay in the mountains. And if it's great for me, it's going to be great for everybody else too. And we're going to have real soap, the freaking bed and breakfast. We go in and they're cheaping out on all this soap, right? So just charge me like $20 more and get some real freaking Irish Spring or something, some Dove or something like that. And so you get this little, little crappy bar of soap. It's like hand soap that you're trying to wash yourself with. And we get out of the shower. I've never experienced this where I used a towel that made me wetter than I was when I freaking dried with it. So I'm trying to dry my hands. All it's doing is just taking the beads of water and flattening it out on your skin and rejecting any sort of water absorption from the towel. Like, you can't have that.
It was coated.
It seriously felt like that. It was one of those like Bed Bath & Beyond microfiber towels that just doesn't freaking work. It's where it's like 90% polyester, and polyester doesn't absorb anything. So it just pushes stuff around, and just simple things like that. And we need to have a great couch that you can the dad can just go and sit on, or go and hang out in my office and watch YouTube videos with some cool speakers and experience some of the things that that you may not have at your house that you may be interested in getting yourself. And then I get to make the videos and share the whole thing, and I just think it's a no freaking brainer for me. It's something that I want to do. It checks off the box, gets the family with me involved. They'll love it. Everybody will love it. Everybody will love the videos. I mean, we get way more views on that kind of stuff than we do on anything else. And I'm just not added to another avenue of what I'm interested in. And I think it's going to be freaking great. And if it's not, oh well, I'll do another thing. Learn something there, and I'll try something else, or not.
To summarize, because some folks were asking here in the comments and also in questions, so there has been no house purchased yet.
No, just wrap it up. So I had to do a lot of extensive research on, we haven't done geological stuff yet. I'm afraid of the mountain falling on the house. The solace that I have is that there was an extensive inspection done to the house before it was purchased. It was purchased 11 months ago. And so this is the house in the Highlands. It's in the Highlands Falls, which is a country club there it's the least restrictive country club. If I had my choice, I wouldn't be in a country club, because then I would never have any risk. Because you have risk of them shutting down the ability to rent the house or changing the rules. So I got a hold of the community bylaws. My realtor is like the most amazing human. That dude freaking knows everybody. He called the owner of the darn club, and then he connected me with the attorney. The attorney, they all know each other up there. They're all connected, right? And so I call the attorney, the real estate attorney. I say, I have a copy of the bylaws. I read it through. Everything looks good. It appears you just can't have like communal. You can't have a bunch of people there at once. So we're going to have restricted to one family, and then, with some extenuating circumstances, let's say it's you and your brother that are going or something, I'm sure we can work that out. Or your family and your brother's family, the house will certainly hold that many people. But what I don't want is 7 families booking my freaking house, and then everybody, covering my countertops with a bunch of junk, and not cleaning up after yourself. So the bylaws don't limit anything but that, having multiple families. They can't use the country club, but I'm not going to join the club anyway, because I don't freaking care about any of that crap. I don't want to do that. And you don't have to join it, so that's not a requirement. It's $30,000 to join the club, and $13,000 a year. Plus, you got to spend money at the club to make it so it's like one of those things you're paying for your friends. Unless you're golfing, it's kind of stupid. And So we made an offer, and the offer wasn't even countered. So the lady bought the house 11 months ago, and she's asking, what, 700 grand more, 720 grand more than what she paid for it 11 months ago. Now, prices have certainly appreciated, but not 34% in less than a year. And they made it worse, right? So they came in. The other people clearly had the place dialed in. You can see the other photos. They had all the landscaping, everything dialed in, and all the walls weren't all freaking patched up and jacked up and touched up. And so, they came in 11 months. I guarantee you a single air conditioner filter hasn't been touched. It's basically rich Michelle, when I die and she's rich in her 50s or whatever, she buys this house and then does nothing, but it looks real pretty, but doesn't change a light bulb. The lights above the stairs just quit working. She's like, well, I guess it just don't work anymore, instead of going to try to find the breaker to turn it back on. Or, an air conditioner filter hasn't been changed. There's the kids puked all over the wall. Let me just go grab some paint and slap it on there. But that's after the puke sat there for 6 months. So it's one of those deals where the lady bought it. I can't fault her, and I'm fine with her making some money, but I don't think the house is going to appraise for as much as they're asking. So I don't want to get all excited and get into this and start spending money on inspections and all that stuff, and then find out the thing is worth $100K less than what I offered. And so I think I'm going to bring her back to reality. And so they didn't even counter. And so we both agreed, I'll pay for an appraisal. Let's order an appraisal. It'll take probably a month to get. So let's order an appraisal, and then we'll work off of that. And I think the appraisal is going to work heavily in my favor. But everybody's holding on to, well, building costs. What does that have to do with this? Building costs haven't gone up 35%. Lumber has gone up 3x. So a freaking 2x4 costs what, $8? So now it's $24. That's not $700,000. There isn't barely even any wood in this freaking house. So don't give me that nonsense. So I hate those dad jokes where people are like, well, hey, they're sitting on a gold mine. Whenever you see like a lumber truck driving by, I'm like, it's a pressure treated 2x6 that's like $32, and now it's like $80. That's not 88,000, you morons. It's like 3x, 2x. That's a lot. If you were building a house, that if your lumber cost $30 grand and now it's 60 or 80, that's a big difference. But it's not 30 grand to 800 grand. That's nonsense. Don't give me that bull crap. And guess what's going to happen? All these builders, they're all holding on, and they're all saying, none of them are working. None of them are going to be working. So these price increase, everybody's holding out, saying, well, we can't build for an affordable number, and then the builders are going to have to start building. They're going to have to start making less. And, obviously prices will start coming down when nobody wants the stuff anymore. So that's part of the deal. And so I don't want to frickin' get stuck in a house where I can't sell it if I want to. So I just won't buy it. I just won't do it. I'll get another one. We'll just wait and do something else. We do want this house, so we're going to try and get it, but I want to pay what it's worth, not too much. Somebody brought up a good point that I'm always railing against, just pay the price. Well, everything we have is priced appropriately. It's priced retail, what it should be. With an appropriate margin. This house is, I believe, priced inappropriately, especially since they bought it and made it worse. It's not going to fix all the things that they messed up. So, and I don't want them fixing it because there's no, I don't want Michelle fixing stuff. She's going to make it worse. So I want to fix it myself. So that's the story. It's going to be freaking awesome, though. If I don't get this house, I'm going to get something. And we're going to try to... That Hayesville's house is still in the mix. I mean, that house is 1/3 the price of this house, which would make it fun. But there's just nothing about that house that, is exciting. It's just a nice regular house. And I just don't think it would have the same appeal that the being in the Highlands would have.
All right, so there's the big update from last weekend's events. Let's see. A couple quick detailing questions for you here. One, we have a couple suggestions here for waterless wash package. Maybe good going forward. So I wrote that down just in case. It's Jen in the chat said she got her glove box detail box that had the press-all bottle in it. Didn't think they were that nice. Should have trusted you from the start.
I'm no dummy, people. You people should freaking learn to listen to me. Yeah, it's good. That's the little one. That's the baby one. They needed a 500 mil so it could fit in the box. But my friends from Glove Box, who have a monthly subscription, Brad Mills is the detailer behind that, and he's up in Chicago, and they own Glove Box, and they ship stuff all over the country. They have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of subscribers that they go out and chase different samples of products and put it in the box, and so you have that subscription. So they've catered to that model that people who like mystery boxes, and they asked if they could buy it wholesale, buy the press-all stuff, and so we sold all the 500 milliliters we had in inventory to them at basically cost so that we could get it in there, and I think a lot of people are going to like those bottles, and just know that we still have work on them to get them to be perfect.
All right, let's see. Real Life Riley on Instagram says, have you ever had tint removed and reapplied?
Oh, yeah.
What is the process like? Are they able to do it without scratching the crap out of the glass or ruining the rear defroster?
Yep. You just have to use like an adhesive remover and generally just steam, depending on how old it is. But yeah, Martin gets that off in minutes and times, and sometimes you can pull it off in a full sheet. But yeah, you can definitely do that. We just pull it all that 20-year-old tint off of the E36M3. So yeah, you can definitely do it. Any detailer can do it, and they'll charge you for it. If you want a nickel and dime for it, they're going to tell you to get lost. So be prepared for that, because no tinter wants to do that, and so you got to make it worth their while. I'm talking hundreds of dollars extra to get it removed. So be prepared for that. They're going to give you a price where they won't hate doing it, and so you just got to prepare yourself for that. Don't be a freaking cheapskate. So if you want to remove and you don't want to do it yourself, you could do it yourself. Just you need a steamer, and you just you don't use any razor blades if you can help it. You just you have to pull it off.
All right, we've got a super chat here from our own Manny over in the yarn building there. $49.99. He says those are funds for yarn building zebra cake stock. So I guess we have to go buy some of that now. Let's see. From Instagram, RHK. When it comes to debadging, do you use dental floss? Do you use fishing line? Do you care? What's your process?
Dental floss usually doesn't work very well. It breaks too easily. And so I use Stren 8-pound test generally, whatever I can steal from Michelle and Ryan's tackle box. And then you just try to pull against the badge as much as possible so you don't cut into the paint. And sometimes inevitably you jack up the paint a little bit. But yeah, I use just a fishing line. So hopefully, first you try to pull it off if you can. Get the skin wedge tool, heat it up a little bit, see if you can put the skin wedge underneath and pull, on the Tesla emblems, just pulled off. So sometimes you can get them off if they haven't been on there too long without even messing with it.
All right, Sean Cagle on Facebook says, Halo over PPF, one coat or two?
Two.
And then do you top with EXO or no?
No topper, just 2 coats of Halo.
There you go, Sean. Let's see. Dr. Eurocar on Instagram says, what ceramic coating do you recommend for 20 to 30-year-old clear coat? I've only ever used Seaquartz 3.0 for original paint E36.
I think most of the... wait, did you say it has clear coat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. If it's a... like a lacquer or single stage or something like that, or a lacquer or single stage, you would want to use like some of the older, heavy resin, like I don't even know if Corey CarPro still has the old stuff, but C1 from G-Technic is the old stuff. That's what they usually use on single stage paint. But on 30-year-old clear coat, like my my E36M3 is 26 years old. I'm just gonna polish it and just put CSL XO on it. Worked just fine.
All right, Alan624 on Instagram says, my neighbor's interested in the new HD9 storage garage lift. Mm-hmm. How do you get those installed? Does your team install them, or does he need to find a certified installer in Orlando?
Yeah, I mean, shoot. I mean, I don't know why you need an installer to do an HD9. It's freaking simple. The cool thing about 4-post lifts is they're not much to do. But yeah, BenPack has a list of installers that we can connect you with. But even then, they're not like they're sending Bubba over there to kind of drill into your concrete. I'd be inclined to give one of your buddies who's super handy, a 6-pack, and have them, palm them a hundo and come over. I mean, a 4-post lift is the simplest thing ever to install. It's not a big safety hazard because you bolt it together and there's 4 legs. So I wouldn't. I'm not a huge fan of. There aren't like world-class lift installers all over the country. Everybody's scrambling to find one, but Nussbaum and BenPack can give us, a name. So if you need a name of someone, we can get you. But I would highly recommend you find yourself a buddy that, even a buddy as handy as me, to convince to come over and play with your lift for you and have them install it. Why don't you go help them? Help your neighbor. Because a 2-post is quite a bit dicier, but a 4-post, super simple. A scissor lift, really simple.
All right, 6.7 Jose says, hey, Matt, can the Sabre cabinets be mounted to wall studs, or do they have to be mounted to concrete?
No, you can definitely do studs. Like in my wash bay, I had torn the drywall down. It'd be a lot easier for you if you tear the drywall down or cut that section out, put a stringer in. So I put two 2x12 stringers across. So just cut out a piece of wood to string across. That way I didn't have to try to hit a stud. But yeah, you can definitely mount it to regular. That was 2x6 construction in my wash bay, and it was solid as a rock. So yeah, you in most cases I think you would end up mounting them. Concrete's easier because you don't have to try to hit something. You just go right into the block. But with studs, you could either again cut the drywall and just cut the drywall. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's gonna be behind the darn cabinet. Cut the drywall out, just keep it all in one piece and just screw it back in place after you put the stringer in, and it'll make it really easy to mount.
Then he also mentions here, he says, the prices being what they are with Sabre, is it worth a couple extra $100 to jump to a Sonic set?
It depends. I'm a huge fan of Sabre. If you're going to buy Sonic tools and Sonic inserts, then it's a no-brainer. You definitely want to do Sonic. But the Sabre stuff is really nice looking. I think it just depends on the style you're looking for. It certainly would be a lot easier for you to get the Sonic stuff. You don't have to put stringers in. You don't have to try to hit studs. You don't have to worry about the structural integrity of the wall you're mounting to. Because think about it. If you're putting like half-inch drive stuff, in a 8-drawer cabinet or 9-drawer cabinet, I guess it's a 6-drawer cabinet. If you do it, it's a freaking crazy amount of weight. It makes me nervous putting that much weight in there on the block wall, and you're doing it on a wooden wall. So the nice thing about the Sonic stuff is you wouldn't mount it. You just put it on the floor, and you'd have it assembled in a 3 hours. Sabre's going to take you, a weekend to get set up. So just keep that in mind. So the price gap isn't that big anymore like it used to be.
And lastly, he said OG can do those pre-built arrays that are on Sonic's website, correct? Yes, we can help you build whatever you want.
Yeah, those arrays are stupid, I think. I mean, all you do is just look at, it's like 9 things, and you just put them together, and those 9 things add up to the same price. So that's easy.
All right, we got a super chat here from Ricardo, $4.99. Hey, Matt, I was wondering with the extra buildings how it would affect OG in terms of inventory, sales, etc. Love the content and solution. Thanks. We've got a couple of yarn building questions I'll get to here.
Yeah, so